This is obviously what you can see is the Ku Klux Klan robe.
Oh, how on earth did he get a KKK robe?
Actual original KKK robe that was given to us by a white man who said his father was a devout member of the Klan. But he was so ashamed that he never told his children or grandchildren. He left it folded up in a box in the attic. He said, but I'm getting old and I want you to please put this in your museum and let your people know that not all white people are racist. And we know that to be true. All white people are not racist, but there were so many of them that were, that this was the first white nationalist organization in America, the Klan. Yeah. I was introduced to the Klan when I was a young girl, when I saw on the news this young boy who was lynched by a group of Klanners, who a white woman accused him of whistling at her or winking at her. Her story kept changing. Of course, his name was Emmett Till. When his mother saw his body, he was so mutilated that she insisted that they have an open casket so the world could see what they did to her beautiful son. That woman who accused him of whistling at her just a couple of years ago just acknowledged that she lied. She lost her great grandson to drug abuse and said that now she could understand how that mother must have felt. I just wonder, where was her compassion 50 some years ago?
Amen.
Yeah.
And more recently, this young boy, Trayvon Martin, was killed just walking in his neighborhood carrying a bag of Skittles and a drink.
Yes, he was.
The man who killed him sold the gun that he used to kill Trayvon Martin on eBay, auctioned it off and got $65,000. So again, it just goes to show how much things remain the same. Many of these lynchings were turned into postcards that whites would purchase to send home to their families up north. This one reads, this is the barbecue we had last night. My picture to the left with a cross over it. That man was literally burned alive. And they would sell body parts like burnt toes, burnt fingers, crispy hearts and crispy livers to many of the attendees. They actually let people know that there was going to be a lynching or a burning today. This one shows you that 3,000 will burn Negro. Many people came, and oftentimes they had their children in with them as well.
Right. Right.
So how we tie in the Black Lives Matter movement is to make people understand that were it not for those compassionate whites that we show here in our Underground Railroad site, like Levi Coffin, and who worked along with other whites. Of course, we know about Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass, but it was these compassionate whites and blacks who worked together to abolish slavery, like William Lloyd Garrison, and Martin Delany. And we compare it to these, many of them young white allies who marched last summer during the Black Lives Matter protests. They certainly weren't racist, and many of them volunteered to be in the front lines so that the cops wouldn't be so quick to attack them as they might if they were blacks in the front of the lines. So these are what we call our white allies. They're like modern day abolitionists, quite frankly.
Right.
We talk about the N-word, and which is used much too much in our communities today. These are items featuring the N-word. This is a can of smoking tobacco called nigger hair tobacco.
Jesus.
Or this is an advertisement for black boot polish called nigger boot polish. Or this one, a label that's on a shrimp, a can of shrimp called nigger head shrimp. That word wasn't created by black people. That word was created by oppressors of black people. And every time we use it, we disgrace our ancestors. We just hope in this upcoming group of young Gen X's and millennials that they'll realize the harm of that word and will stop using it, because now you have white kids who use the word to call each other that word because it's so confusing, and it doesn't matter whether that word comes out of the mouth of a black person or a white person. It's disrespect of self and of our ancestors.
I'm sure that when people come through your museum, they're obviously profoundly affected. What do you suggest to them as far as there any reading or further study or things they can do to sort of educate themselves a little bit more about what's happened?
Well, we do have some books that we have listed that we have on our website that people, can read that will help them better understand where we are today. White fragility is one of my favorite ones that I refer to, because it really makes white people understand what happened, and makes them also understand why they may feel the way they feel. White supremacy is something that is innate. It's ingrained in most white people. It's just a matter of, that's just what is expected. Just what. So they don't know that's they don't even know in many cases that they are privileged because of their white skin, but they are in fact. It is in fact something that they should be mindful of. This is a painting that we show to make people understand how slavery has affected our Black communities. If you notice here in this painting, the shackles are not on the man's ankles or on his wrists. They're on his head, which signifies mental slavery. There's an actual book with a key over it. All he has to do is open that book and read and get the knowledge that he needs. And as a result of mental slavery, this is what's happening in many of our communities today. We have Blacks. These are obituaries of young Black men who were killed in recent years, and they weren't killed by white cops. They weren't killed by vigilantes. They were killed by other Black men. So we ask the question, what is the difference? Killed by others or killed by brothers? Slavery literally taught us self-hatred, and now it's become so self-hating that we kill ourselves. So this is also very profound. And we talk about, yes, Black Lives Matter, but it also has to matter to us. We have to be just as vigilant about Blacks killing Blacks as we are about white killing Blacks. Our people are literally dying from lack of knowledge. This is slavery yesterday, and this is slavery today.
Are there any expectations or assumptions that people have that you've had to correct? I mean, do you have people coming in with sort of some real misconceptions that you've noticed?
Well, I'll tell you an experience I had just last summer. And I had a grandmother and grandfather who was visiting Philadelphia with their grandchildren. And they saw my brochures at the visitor center. And they said, oh, we'd like to go to the Slavery Museum. So they came up here to Germantown. And I'll turn my phone back around. And I could tell as soon as they walked in, the grandfather was just, going along to get along. But the grandmother was very, very, you could tell she wasn't happy about being here. But the grandchildren, they were clinging on every word that I said. And as I talked, she kept, grabbing her virtual pearls and clearing her throat a lot. And when we got to the Ku Klux Klan robe, she shouted out, oh my God, did anybody survive this? At first I thought she was joking, and I didn't know what to say, quite frankly. And I finally said to her, ta-da! She was so clueless. Yeah. She really she didn't know anything about slavery and probably didn't want to know, but she was uncomfortable to the point where she just simply blurted out her ignorance. And that was ignorant of her, to ask, did anybody to survive this? Her grandchildren burst out laughing. Her husband, as they were leaving, apologized to me. I said, no need to apologize. There are many people like her. What you just have to do is educate yourself about slavery and this portion of American history.
Yeah. Well, I hope that started a discussion at the very least in that family. And it seems as though there's a generational thing as well, where you've got the grandkids who understand it, grasp it more. That's got to give you some hope.
You're absolutely right, Steve. In fact, we have become known as one of the few museums where it's a safe place to have conversations and talks about race and race relations. Following my presentations, people are just sometimes so not overwhelmed with feelings that they want to talk. They start asking questions. They start mentioning, things that they learned from their grandparents or their parents, growing up, and how they have come to realize that what they were taught were a pack of lies, quite frankly, about Black people. Because, you have college students who are now going to college with Black people, Black people, and realizing that they're no different than them, you know?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
yeah, there are a lot of conversations that just spontaneously happen. And we're glad that people feel comfortable enough to talk about that.